Okay, we're looking at LSAT 41, and this is Logic Game 2. At a children's festival, exactly 4 songs are performed, each exactly once. The songs are performed consecutively, each on a different one of exactly 4 instruments. The songs are performed in accordance with the following. Okay, so here are our songs, N, Q, R, and S. They're on a sequence, and they must match up with instruments F, G, H, K. So, we know that what we have here is we have something that looks like this. Song and an instrument. All right, that is what we're dealing with. It appears to be a vertical setup, but it's really just 2 horizontal sequences on top of one another. And the best way to think about an analytical game such as this is that, yes, there is a sequence, and within each sequence there's a group. Okay, so it's really both a sequence and a grouping game. Okay, the first song is not performed on the flute, so we have that. And then if S goes with K or is performed with K, then R is performed with H. And thus, if we remove the necessary condition, we should know that we cannot have the sufficient condition, and that's the contrapositive. Okay, and the next one is if Q is performed with K, then N is performed with F. And then the contrapositive to this is if N is performed with F, then Q cannot be performed with K. And then the last rule is the song performed on the keyboard immediately follows R and immediately precedes N. So it follows R, which means it goes right after R, and then it occurs right before N. So we have this RKN block. Okay, so as always, we want to use the hierarchy of rules to solve the scenarios. Now, if we look at this, we say to ourselves, we might not be given a first order rule here. But the rule down here, the rule in this spot is really kind of transcends a second order rule, and it becomes kind of just a first and second order rule all rolled into one, because only 2 things can happen when we have this block right here. So we just need to flesh them out into 2 different worlds. We have R, K, N, and then we move it over. To R, K, and N. Okay, that is complete. All right. So now we are looking, we've basically done our first and second order rules. We're in a sequence where we said a third order rule in a sequence is a rule that says something goes before something else, and a third order rule in a grouping game is an exclusion rule. So we should remember this, that F cannot go in 1. We really would place it here. I think I have very little space here, but I'll let myself know that F can't go there. Okay, the other thing that we need to consider before we just move on to these rules is just a straight distribution game that can occur. What can occur if there's only 2 spots with 2 variables? Well, there's only 2 things that can occur. Q and S can go like this. And S and Q can go like that. Okay, and then Q and S can go like this. And S and Q can go in that manner. So we have wholly solved what can happen with the sequence, and now it's just a matter of matching what can go with what instruments can go with the songs. So we're kind of at the grouping aspect of this particular game, and we've utilized every rule here. We've gone through the hierarchy of rules, and now we're just down to 4th order rules. So where S is K, R has to be H. So where S is K, R has to be H. Okay, and where S is K, R has to be H here. All right, and so we've exhausted that, and now let's look at if Q is K, N has to be F. Okay, Q is K, N has to be F. All right, now we're left with, what we're left with here. And the one thing that we need to pay attention to is F cannot go in 1, so F would end up here, and then that would just make us have to fill in G. Okay, now what's left over here is H and G, and that can go just in an option. There's no rules that contain it. We've exhausted all the rules, and we've completed the task at hand, so it's just a matter of filling in the variables. Now F and G can go here. Okay, and now we're just down to H and G that can each go in either spot. Okay, that's all that can occur in this analytical game, and we're ready to just go through and answer the questions. All right, which one of the following could be an accurate matching of the 4 songs performed at the festival with the instruments on which they are performed listed in order from the first song performed to the last? All right, so we just want to eliminate the answer choices through the rules. So the first rule tells us that F cannot occur in the first spot, and that means C would fall out. Okay. The next rule tells us that if S is performed with K, then R is performed with H. Well, if you go through here, there is no answer choice that breaks that rule. So we move on to the third rule. If Q is performed with K, then N must be performed with F. And if you look at A, Q is performed with K, and R is performed with F, so A falls out. And then also if you look at D, Q is performed with K, and R again is performed with F, so D falls out. All right, so now we're just between B and E, and the fourth rule tells us that we have to have an RKN situation like that. And in E, we have an RF in situation, so E falls out, and the answer to the question thus is B. Okay, number 9, which one of the following could be true? Q immediately follows the song performed by K. So do we ever have a KQ on a diagonal going this way? And no, we don't, so A cannot work. N immediately precedes the song performed by K. Do we have an NK on a diagonal going this way? And no, we do not, so B doesn't work. C, Q immediately precedes the song performed on G. So do we ever have a QG situation going that way? And no, we do not. So C doesn't work. And then R immediately precedes the song performed by H. Do we have an RH situation going this way? And no, we do not. It's always RK, obviously. And then if we look at E, S immediately precedes the song performed on G. So do we have an SG set up? And we do. It can happen right here in our second scenario. And thus E is the answer to the question. Let's look at 10. Which one of the following cannot be true of the song performed on F? Okay. It immediately precedes Q. So do we ever have a QF here? We could in scenario 2. So that cannot be the answer choice because it's asking us what cannot be. B, it immediately follows Q. And it could also right here. C, it immediately precedes R. Do we ever have an FR situation? No, we do not, and that is the answer to our question, which is C. And then D, it immediately follows N. Do we ever have an FN situation like this? Okay, and we do right here, so that is not the answer. Obviously, it's asking us what cannot be true, and we found it in C, so I'm just kind of going through to make sure that there's no confusion. Here we could have N and F immediately following each other. And then E, it immediately follows S. Do we ever have an SF situation? We do right there. So C, again, is the answer to the question. Number 11, if R is the second song performed at the festival, then which one of the following could be true? Well, we have R performed second in 3 and 4. The first song is performed on the keyboard. That could never be. All right. The third song is performed on the guitar. No, it would have to be K. The third song performed is on the flute. Again, it would have to be K. N is performed on the guitar, and we have NF and NF, so that can't be. And then E, R is performed on the guitar. Well, it could happen right here. E is the answer to the question. 12, if Q is the third song performed at the festival, then each of the following could be true except. So where do we have Q occurring third? It happens right here in scenario 4. Q is performed on the guitar. Well, Q would have to be performed on K, so A is the answer to our question. Let's look at B, though. Q is performed on the keyboard. Absolutely, that actually has to be true. R is performed on the guitar. That could be true right here. S is performed on the guitar. That could be true, and S is performed on the harmonica. That could also be true. So A, the fact that the postulation that Q is performed on G can never be true because Q has to be performed on K. So we know, again, the answer to the question is A. Okay, that concludes LSAT 41 Logic Game 2. Thank you.